people who give so willingly to people like me. It's plain to see, with people like you, folk have a better break to take to people like me.
Well, we have had some very, very clever people talking on Joy's World, but none as clever as this one. This gentleman is a brain surgeon, and I've never before had a brain surgeon on the show, but the clever Camilla has managed to get a real live brain surgeon. His name is Charlie. Wow. Hello, Charlie. Let's have a look at Charlie and see what he has to say about the very difficult job of being a brain surgeon.
I'm so lucky to have Charlie Tiao here. Charlie, welcome to the program and thanks for taking the time.
It's a pleasure, Camilla.
Now, you are one of the most world-renowned brain surgeons.
Yes.
Yes, you are.
That's what I tell people.
Well, that's what I'm telling people as well now. Why brain surgery?
Well, it was fortuitous.
Yes.
Serendipitous. Essentially, I didn't enjoy neurosurgery as a medical student, and I used to try and evade neurosurgical patients as a resident and intern. And then I started doing pediatric surgery, and the neurosurgical registrar fell ill, and I was asked to take over his job for a while and fell in love with it when I was exposed to it. And yeah, so since then I've just continued to be very passionate about it.
It's a huge job, isn't it? I mean, you're literally holding lives in your hands.
Yes, it is. It's considered one of the hardest, if not the hardest, of all the specialties, because it is such an unforgiving specialty. The brain has no reparative mechanism. So once you make a mistake, that's it.
Yeah.
It's totally unforgiving.
And brain tumours, there's not a huge recovery rate, is there?
No, 70% of all the tumours that we deal with are malignant, so you can buy people time, but eventually they're going to die from the disease. So that in itself is emotionally very taxing.
How do you deal with it? How do you deal with knowing the outcome?
Well, there are a percentage of patients where you can cure them, the non-malignant ones, and then of the malignant ones, you can get remarkable success stories. Now, you know, success is very relative, but you can buy people years of life.
Yeah.
And, you know, you can get all crammed into your last few years of life if you know that you've got a sort of use-by date. And people do that. People often see the, you know, they talk about the positive side of having brain cancer, where their life becomes fuller.
Yeah.
And are more enriched because they are living life to the fullest, knowing that they're going to die soon.
Yeah.
So if you can buy them that precious time, they can do a lot with that time.
Now, you're very good at that. You're well renowned for that, giving people more quality of life and everything like that. You essentially go in where there's inoperable.
You are of a very limited number of people who feel that way. Many of my colleagues think that it's actually the opposite, that I offer false hope. No. And they're very accusatory of me, sort of.
That's crazy.
Yes, and that sort of upsets me because, you know, it's not false hope. I don't think there's anything such as false hope. If you either give people hope or you don't give them hope.
Yeah.
As long as you're honest with your patients, and as long as they understand that there are always two sides to every coin, that the results of surgery may not be as optimum as you would like. Again, honest with them, then it's their choice really. And so, those last-ditch efforts that I often give patients to try and buy them time or actually cure them, I think are very worthwhile. It's unfortunately still invasive, but it's very minimally invasive. And I mean, that is the downside to neurosurgery, that even the minimally invasive techniques that are very well tolerated still have some potential complications that can be quite devastating sometimes.
Use an endoscope, right?
Yes, we use mostly the endoscope, which improves your illumination, magnification, field of view, and it's technology that really drives this progress into the future. There are two technologies.
Right.
The one that we use at the moment is where you do have just this telescope made of a rigid glass lens.
Wow.
The camera's on the other end of it, and then you stick that lens into where you want to see. Technology is such now where you can have a microchip camera on the end of a stick, or on the end of a wire, and so that even makes the corridor through which you pass this scope even smaller. Which means even less collateral damage. So, with technology driving us, we're making neurosurgery and other surgical specialties even more and more minimally invasive.
That's incredible.
Oh yeah, it's great.
You're going through a tiny, tiny hole, though, aren't you?
Yeah, a lot of the surgeries I do is up the nostril. So,
wow!
Yeah, and we can even do kids, despite their very small nostrils, again, with the technology being miniaturized, we can operate on even young children now through their nostril.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, it's great.
Incredible. So what's the longest operation you've ever done?
26 hours.
Wow.
Yeah, it was, I've only done one, 26 hours. I've done lots of 18 hours and 20 hours. And
how do you keep going?
Well, I'm very fit, and you do have to be very sort of fit and very focused.
Yeah, it's almost like an athlete, isn't it? Yeah.
It is almost like an athlete, and sometimes I get a little bit upset when I hear commentators on sports programs going, "Oh my God, that guy's an amazing athlete. He played tennis for 6 hours." And
wow.
Kidding, 6 hours playing tennis. I'd love to do that. You try holding your arms up like this with someone's life in your hands, like for 20 hours, and that I think is a lot more challenging. But anyway, no, you get used to it. It's like everything. You practice and practice and practice, and you keep fit and you keep focused, and you keep the patient's best interests in mind, and you're always sort of aiming at some particular goal, and after a while it actually doesn't seem as long as you would think.
How do you do it? How do you balance that responsibility as well as your personal life? Because it's massive.
It is, but it's not that difficult, because you get reward all the time.
Yeah.
If you weren't getting instant reward, I think it would be very difficult. Say all your patients died, or all your patients had bad outcomes. I think that would be quite exhausting. But when patients they're very thankful, and that feedback you get from your patients, oh my God, it motivates you, energizes you.
The brain's made up of 4 main lobes. Is that right?
Hang on, let me count. No, you're right. Yeah, the frontal, parietal, occipital, temporal. Yeah.
Okay, and where do most brain tumours occur?
Well, they actually occur. The largest lobe gets the most number of tumours,
which is
and
the
goes
frontal.
Down, yeah, frontal.
Right.
Yeah, and then goes down by increments, according to the size of the lobe.
What causes it?
Well, because of poor funding, we haven't done too many demographic etiology type studies,
right.
And so we actually don't know. And without the funding, you're never going to find answers like that.
No, but you founded Cure for Life, and now which is now called the Cure Brain Cancer. So tell us about that.
Well, I was very, very disappointed at the amount of funding that was being put into brain cancer research when I returned from America. And so it was almost like I had to start on my own, or else there was no funding.
Wow.
So we started up a foundation in 2003.
Yeah.
Became a recognised tax-deductible charity with the lovely Mari Bashir as our patron, and it's gone from strength to strength since then. It's now, well, not now, but about 10 years ago, a decade ago, became the largest funder of brain cancer research in Australia. Yeah,
that's great.
Yeah, and of course we're still at the top. We raise anywhere between, well, every year gets higher.
Wow.
So we're raising, almost $10 million a year now.
And you do sort of fun runs and walks.
Do fun runs, walks, but it's all grassroots stuff.
Yeah.
It's all from charities. We've got 2 fantastic sponsors. Volvo's been terrific. For every car that Volvo sells, they give us $50, and it's amounted to
I'm
more
going to
than
go and buy a Volvo right now.
Yeah, so to all your viewers, please buy a Volvo. And industry clothing company, industry, they've been fantastic as well, and they've supported us to the tune of it must be almost $1 million.
There ought to be more people like you. There ought to be more people like you.
It's not a common cancer, but the reason people think it is, well, they should think it is because it actually ranks number 1 in the socio-economic impact on society. So, but because it takes people out, because the cure rate is so low, because it affects young people,
and it's expensive treatment.
It has a huge impact on society. Number 1. by all statistics, and all groups in the developed world have ranked brain cancer as number one.
Wow.
And but it doesn't receive the number one amount of funding, unfortunately.
Because it kills more young people under the age of 40, doesn't it, than any other cancer?
Does. Yeah, more young people under 40 than any other cancer,
Wow.
and more children than any other cancer.
Does the modern lifestyle, like the mobile phones and the microwaves, do those have an impact?
You know, the jury is still out.
Yeah.
You'd think it'd be in by now, but we need more funding.
Yeah.
The only large study was funded by industry, by the mobile phone companies. So you've got to take that with a grain of salt. Yeah. But even that study hinted at a relationship between high usage of mobile phones,
right,
more than half an hour a day,
wow,
and brain cancer. So even the study funded by industry that came out with the conclusion that there was no link, when they looked into these sort of subgroups, they found that there may be a link between high mobile usage and brain cancer.
Now you do a lot of pro bono work.
Yeah,
you just come back.
I get a lot from. I just came back from North Korea.
Wow.
I do. Look, we as doctors get a lot out of our vocation. We get to help people, which is a great privilege. We get paid well, and we get a status by our communities that is very rewarding. So you've got to give back. I mean, you can't just take.
Yeah, it's a great attitude.
And so to give back, I sacrifice about 3 to 4 months every year.
Wow.
Doing free pro bono work in developing countries and countries like North Korea.
You must see a lot of poverty and stuff going on.
You do. You see a lot of poverty. You see a lot of disparity between what's offered in the developed countries and non-developed countries. And it's a great feeling when you can go to a country like that, stay there for many years, keep going back and watch the level of neurosurgery rise to the level that you see here in Australia. Great. And I think, well, not me, but we have achieved that in countries like Vietnam, for example.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah. So I've been going to Vietnam for over 10 years now, regularly. I have Vietnamese neurosurgeons training with me here.
Great.
And I think the level of neurosurgery that I see now in Viet Duc Hospital in Hanoi is better than some of the quality neurosurgery that I see even in developed countries.
That's amazing.
Yeah,
a lot of work in the States as well, don't you?
Yeah, and I have an appointment at Duke University, which is in North Carolina and considered to be one of the best brain cancer centres in the world. It's where Ted Kennedy went for his brain tumour. And the chairman of the program there basically identified the fact that I was doing these tumours that other people weren't doing, getting good results, and has asked me to go over there to sort of teach them the techniques and do many of the what we call brainstem gliomas in America.
And that's when that's wrapped around the brainstem, is that right?
No, in fact it's when they're growing in the brain. Many neurosurgeons can take out tumours that are wrapped around the brainstem. But when they're actually in the brainstem, growing out, they're the difficult ones, and they're the ones that most people call inoperable. So, and I've had some great results with those.
Wow, what makes you go in where no other surgeon has gone before? What drives you?
I don't know. Look, there's a very fine line between arrogance and self-confidence.
Yes, I agree.
And, of course, many of my detractors think I'm arrogant. And I would like to think that I'm not arrogant, but very confident with what I do.
Yeah. I think you have to be, don't you? I mean, you've got to know that you can do it.
Yes. But again, if you're too confident, then you won't reflect on all the adverse outcomes, and you won't learn from your mistakes.
You learn from your mistakes, yeah.
So that's arrogance, I think.
Yeah.
And so, but here's the bottom line. Inherently, when you do things that have never been done before, or other people aren't doing, you are going to get problems, and you are going to get bad outcomes. And so it's this constant battle within yourself, am I doing the right thing? Or, gee, I had a bad outcome with that last time, maybe I shouldn't be so aggressive next time. And it's very, very difficult.
Goodness, I don't know how you do it. I really don't. Wow. Now, you also work with animal rescues. You support Voiceless and the Orangutan Foundation.
Yes.
And you've been to the orangutans.
Yes.
Why did you choose animals as well as humans? I mean, wow, you've got so many.
Well, I love animals.
Yeah.
I love animals, and I felt that I was in a very privileged position of having a voice in society.
Yeah.
I was lucky enough to give that Australia Day address. So again, it's that thing. You can't just take.
Yeah.
And if I've got this great position of having a voice, wouldn't it be great if I could help people or animals who don't have a voice and don't have any sort of say in
no
things.
rights at all, yeah.
No rights. So those poor animals who are treated so badly for our benefit, and that is pigs, chickens, cows, who sacrifice their lives for our lives, and they're treated so badly. Like 70% of the pork that you eat in this country is still produced from pigs that are kept in cages. Always known that processed meats have not been good for you, but it's good that it's actually coming out now. And but you know, those poor animals.
Oh, it's terrible.
There ought to be more people like you. There ought to be more people like you.
Now, you've actually interacted with the orangutans.
Yes.
What was that like?
It was pretty amazing. Well, that's a bit of a sad story, though.
Oh, is it?
Camilla, yeah, because, okay, here's the problem. The problem is that orangutans live in Borneo, most of them. Borneo, unfortunately, has a policy where they allow people to destroy their rainforests for palm oil production.
Yeah.
And so 95% of the rainforest in Borneo, which is the habitat of orangutans, has now been destroyed.
Poor. And palm oil's used in everything, isn't it? It's huge.
Well, here's the problem with palm oil. You see, palm oil is very cheap.
Yeah.
And their argument is that we're a developing country, our people are poor, we need the palm oil, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But listen to this. They use the palm oil. It's cheaper than other oils. It's not as healthy, but it's cheaper than other oils. But the money doesn't go back to the people. So there's been no relationship between palm oil production and all the other parameters of poverty in a country, such as infant mortality, literacy rates, etc. So if really they are as altruistic as they say they are, what you should see is that as the production of palm oil goes up, so too should all those parameters improve.
Yes.
But they're not.
Otherwise it just keeps the cycle
So
going.
it's all greed. So the cheap oil that they use is not going back to the people who's producing it or it's coming from. It's going into the pockets of a very, very small group of billionaires or big multinational companies. So that argument falls flat on its face.
Wow.
And the trouble now is that the amount of rainforest is so low that we don't think we can save the orangutans.
Oh my goodness.
I know, it's got to the stage where once there's less than 5% habitat, then you're probably not going to be able to save them. It's actually solitary animals, but no, they've tended to live in communities simply because there's such a paucity of food.
My goodness. And you've actually held them and interacted with them. Are they amazing?
They're human-like.
They are, aren't they?
Well, they feel pain. They're sentient beings.
Yeah.
You know, they feel emotions. They show happiness. They show loyalty. You know, they're just beautiful creatures that we are absolutely destroying. And these palm oil farmers, they walk around with machetes and just chop their arms off and chop their heads off and just treat them like they're a pest.
Oh my goodness, that's terrible.
No, it's terrible.
So how can we contribute to the Orangutan Foundation?
So there's a group called OFI, Orangutan Foundation International, that has an Australian sort of part to it.
Yes.
And you can contribute through that. There's a website.
Yeah. I think you can sponsor an orangutan.
Yeah, but here's the best thing you can do. The best thing you can do is insist from your producers and in groups like Coles and Woolworths that all products that contain palm oil are labelled containing palm oil. So there's no honesty in labelling. So that means that people who use palm oil can call it vegetable oil. Yeah. I think most people are so kind. And most people are.
If they knew.
Yeah. So if they knew that a product contained palm oil, they wouldn't buy it.
Wow.
Yeah. So don't buy products with palm oil.
Yeah.
Simple as that. And once those companies get their word, oh my God, we're not selling our products, then I think they'll stop using palm oil. Then they'll stop farming palm oil. And then maybe we can get some resurrection of the rainforest for orangutan.
Well, I mean, the orangutans are very similar to us, aren't they? I mean, they're almost classified as non-human humans.
Oh my God, absolutely. Yeah, their DNA is almost exactly the same.
And their brains are similar, aren't they?
Their brains are very similar.
You would know.
Again, what's interesting to see is that when I was over there and saw some of the diseases that they get, they're exactly the same as the diseases that we get.
Wow.
They get strokes like we get. They get atherosclerosis in their arteries and heart disease, cancer.
Wow.
Yeah,
Oh,
it's
goodness.
fascinating.
So I see you've got a few motorbikes up there. Are you quite passionate about those? Wow.
I am. I'm very passionate about motorbike riding, and people know that. So it's usually given to me by little kids that I've operated on. This is a collection of motorbikes. That's a picture of me in the office, my office staff in the
Heck
Middle
of an
East.
office, right? Yeah.
That's the picture of Bill Clinton and Hillary. That's my hero, Steve Waugh. And this is the copy of the Quran given to me by one of my patients. And, their own personal, treasured copy of the Quran. It was lovely. That's Steve Waugh's cricket bat with which he scored his last century. So it's, again, a treasured item. He gave it to me after I operated on his wife. We were good friends anyway before that. And then it was surreal. After having spoken to him, just as a normal conversation, half an hour later he calls me up and says, Lynette's unconscious with a hemorrhage in her head.
Oh my God.
And so I ended up having to operate on my good friend's wife. In appreciation he gave me this bat that is a great memento to his career.
What do you like about motorbikes?
People say to me, how do you sort of unwind? And the best way to unwind is to clear your mind. And not think about all the tragedy that you've seen that day. And when you're riding a motorbike, if you try and think about other things apart from keeping alive, you'll die. So when I ride, I am 100% focused on staying alive on the road. And so it does clear your mind, actually. You tend to forget about all the trials and tribulations of the day.
Yeah. Marvellous. And what else do you do to sort of recreate? I hear you go kayaking a lot.
Yes, I keep very fit. And because I think a fit body, fit mind, and not only that, the long operations I do, you have to be very sort of physically robust.
What advice would you give people who want to go into neurosurgery?
Well, I'm...
Besides don't do it.
Yes. No, that's it.
Don't do it.
That's it. Okay, so I've seen the best and the worst of neurosurgeons, and I think here's the bottom line. The bottom line is those people that I see who don't treat their patients well, who don't keep up with the latest trends, they're the ones who got into it for the wrong reason. So they get, a lot of medical students are actually honest with you and say, oh, we're doing it because, you make good money or you get status and this and that. Wrong. Just don't, you'll be so disheartened by it that you become one of those bad doctors. The good doctors are the ones who go in it for because they want to go in because it's a surface industry. They want to help other people, and that's what turns them on. It's not the money, it's not the status, it's not the power games, it's not the politics. It's all about helping others. So what I say to people, if you want to do neurosurgery, make sure it's the only thing you want to do. Try everything else, try the other specialties, try other vocations, and if at the end of the day it's the only thing that makes you happy, then that's when you should do it. Yeah. If something else can make you happy, do that because it's a whole lot easier than neurosurgery.
And what do you tell people who are going through the challenges of cancer?
Well, they're the ones who teach me the most. Actually, I don't teach them much at all. They come to me with amazing courage, optimism, and so I learn more about facing adversity from my patients than they learn from me. I'm the instrument to allow them to see the future and to fulfill their optimism, but they're the ones who have the hope and they're the courageous ones.
Wow. Well, Charlie, thank you so much.
No, it's a pleasure.
Lovely to meet you.
Yeah, lovely to meet you too.
Okay.
Wow. What a guy. What a wonderful man. And wasn't that a lovely interview with Camilla? Thanks, Camilla, and thanks, Charlie. Keep smiling.
There ought to be more people like you, more people who give so willingly to people like me. It's plain to see with people like you,